I've been having a really positive experience working with a recruitment agency. I never thought I'd say that. I had some horrible experiences at first, but this has been really positive, and so I wanted to share it with you. In previous videos, I was talking about how we're hiring a senior manager for the business, and we're doing that together with a recruitment agency. And I thought I'd share just a bit of insight, because I've worked with some recruitment agencies before, and to be fair, it hasn't worked. But this is really working. And I wanted to just give a bit of insight in terms of how we're working it. So hopefully you can benefit and hopefully make any kind of relationships that you have with recruiters work for yourself. So the first thing I did before we kind of appointed a recruiter is that we talked to a lot of people. Some people actually as recruiters, and some people who had been recruited, just to get an idea of kind of how things worked well, what issues they saw, and any advice they give to me. I took a lot of notes, and that, I think there's no point in me going through the kind of the various steps there that they gave, because everybody will take different snippets depending on their industry. But the first thing I would massively encourage you to do before deciding on someone is to talk to people both that have been recruited and that recruit, just to get what bits of value they think you should know in advance. When we found someone, I was honest, I based it just because I liked the person. I really liked the person. I felt that they saw the position I was in. I felt I could work with them. One thing that really sold me was the pricing model. A lot of recruitment agencies work on percentages, so they'll charge 15 or 20% of whatever it is, whatever the annual wage that's agreed for the candidate. That I wasn't keen on, because it's in their interest for the salary to be big, and so he actually addressed this with me and said, look, you know what, I'm going to charge an upfront fee, and then I'm going to charge a signing fee. They're not percentage based. Here's what I'm charging you. And I really liked that, because as I said, they weren't built into whatever wage we ultimately agreed for this candidate. We knew their fee. It was a fixed fee. And I actually felt that they'd work with us in terms of getting the best wage packet and agreement to suit our business. So that was something. The first piece of work that the recruitment, and he came to me and said, look, this is the first piece we're going to do, was basically really an industry outline. He said, look, for the position that you're recruiting, I want to take some time to actually study the industry. I want to see the key people that would be ideal for this role. I want to profile them, and I want to report back to you in terms of what packages they're working off, who they are, what businesses they're working in, what clients they're working with, what kind of track record and history they've had, what kind of packages they're working off. And that was so valuable. If I'm honest, I didn't know enough about the industry as I should have. I thought I did, but certainly this really opened my eyes, and that there was real value in that. And from that, we built a shortlist, and by shortlist I mean about 15 people. And we said, look, we're going to reach out to these people. I loved the way he reached out. He initially speaking, didn't mention my company, didn't mention my name. He reached out to them on a nameless basis, which I thought was really, really beneficial, because obviously if 15 people in the industry were all probably connected, all heard that my business was reaching out, they'd be like, whoa, these guys must be pretty desperate, which obviously is not the way you want to start. But he reached out and gauged interest. And from that, 5 or 6 of them weren't interested. They were happy where they were, but the large majority were interested. He reported back to me on that. And one bit of feedback that I thought was really valuable is he said, look, these are the people that weren't interested, and here's why they weren't interested. And because there's value that we can take for that, and these are the people that were interested, and here's why they're interested. And that gave, obviously, a good bit more insight and knowledge. From there, he met with them, and he discussed both myself and my business and the opportunity and the position. And The feedback that I got from that was both on the positive and the negative. He said, look, here's what people think of you, both positive and negative. Here's what people think of your business, both positive and negative. And here are the following candidates that would be open to meeting with yourself. That was brilliant. Knowing what these industry leaders think of me, think of the business, that was really cool. One of them gave a great quote, which I have to share. They said, Jamie White is like Marmite. You either like him, or if you're competing against him, you hate him. He kind of was a bit nervous saying that to me, and I loved it. I thought it was real complimentary. Maybe that's just me, but I thought it was good. Anyway, before he set up the meetings, he gave me, I sent through a handout of all the kind of profiles on all of them, salary expectations, package expectations, all that. But he kind of prepped me beforehand. He said, look, when you're meeting, this is what you should be talking. This is the first meeting, of which there'll be a number of layers to. And I hope you're watching this and seeing, you're seeing differences between your experience versus this. If this is the norm, I am gobsmacked. I must have just worked with some really awful agencies, because this whole experience for me has been so valuable. I'm at the stage where I'm meeting people for kind of first, some of the last ones on the first round and some of the majority on the second round. And so I wanted to update you on the process to here and now, because I never looked at recruitment I never looked at it in terms of getting so much from it, in terms of industry perspective on me, both positive, negative, industry perspective on the business, industry perspective as a whole, really marking out all the key individuals, knowing kind of their salary ranges, their package ranges, knowing the agencies they're working with, the clients that we're working with. Like, that has just been so eye-opening for me. And I really think, if any of you are involved in the process of recruiting, do it similarly and get so much value from it. Anyway, that's kind of where I'm at to date on it. As things close up, I'll share a little bit more, because the process has been so much more than I initially thought it would be, and with that, there's so much value that it's bringing to me. Anyway, as I said, I had some pretty fucking awful experiences prior to this. I'd love to, if you're watching on and you're in the middle of this, please do let me know where you're at. If you have any added advice, let me know, because as I said, I'm in the middle of this process. I'd love to take anything I can get to make sure I get the most from it, because really, when you're bringing in a senior person, it's a very important decision. It's one that you want to take as much into account and, as I said, make the right decision. So thank you.